Well, g'day, curd nerds. G'day, curd nerds. Well, 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 g'day, curd nerds. Welcome to another episode of Ask the Cheeseman. And hopefully everything's working okay. Yeah, all cool. And, yep, all good. All right, so this is episode, what is it? 111. 111. And just a few things to start with. And welcome Kim to the chat. That's excellent. So just some housekeeping. So thank you very much to all of my patrons and YouTube members. We've got a new YouTube member this week, and that's Silvio. Oh, how do I pronounce his last name? Chicotti. Chicotti. That's how you say it. Thank you very much. And the videos this week, being released today, once I finish off the editing, will be spicy American cheese. Spicy melty American cheese, I should call it. Melty. And we'll also have some vegan cream cheese, because I had some requests for some vegan cheese as well. Okay. All good. So, we've got 32 people watching. That's fantastic. And yes, the hat. Comments about the hat. Yes, the hat. It's just because I've had a haircut and it's really cold, and even inside. And this is what happens when I take the hat off. It's very cold, a bit shiny too. But I put the hat on. I'm only going to wear it when it's cold, so it's not going to be a normal feature. In fact, I bought this hat. It's all the way from Ireland. It's very nice. Okay, so we got some questions off the bat. Let's have a look. First question is from Julian, and Julian says, where could I buy the cooler box in the US? Not sure what you mean by cooler box, but I think you might mean the ripening box, the red ripening box, the wide one I use in most of my videos. We sell it here, and it's made in Australia, so you will have a bit of trouble finding it in the US, because I don't think that Decor as the company actually ship it to the US. So just bringing up at a picture, I think this is what you mean. Just going to the desktop screen. So that box there, let's go to the big picture. So that there, there's another box. So it's got a little rack in it, and that's what I put the cheese in. And it's got a little pop-top lid if you want to reduce the humidity. But yeah, quite a good box. It's a microwavable plastic box, basically, but I use it for cheese making, so that works. Yeah, so I think that's what you mean. You can get it at our shop at littlegreenworkshops.com.au. Only $18 Australian, which is heaps cheaper in American. Okay, Aslam says, I have cow stomach. How can I get rennet from it, please? Well, it depends on which cow stomach you've got. You need to get the fourth one. They have 4 of them. If you've managed to get what's known as the rennet bag, then all you have to do is dry it out in salt. So you put it in salt for a week. So you've got to cover it in salt, put it in a plastic container, put it in salt. And then once it's fully salted, then you need to dry it somehow, whether that be in the sun or maybe in the cheese cave. Oh, it probably wouldn't dry very well there. A lot of people put it in the sun if you're in a hot climate, and that dries out. And then you snip little bits off of it, and you put it in your milk to coagulate your milk. How much you put in your milk, I don't know, because I've never done it. But I do know how to salt the stomach. So that's how you do it. Got a few g'days. We've got g'day for John. We've got Chocolate RX. Obviously, Julian and Aslam. We've got Dash and Adam. We've also got Wildcat Matt, Colin, John. Good to see you, John, as always. And Elizabeth, Vern, Craig. Morning, Craig. And Kevin, Tanner. Oscar. All right, all very cool. Um, we've got another question. Where is it? Wildcat Matt says, Gavin, you are awesome. Oh, thanks, mate. You make me want to try and make a whole bunch of cheeses. Nice. Um, Colin says, G'day, cheese family. Very cool. John says, just watching American Test Kitchen, and they were making their own butter and cultured butter. Very cool. And he says, I mentioned making clarified butter and ghee butter and using the strain proteins and milk whey and put into cheese making and smoke it. Great protein and popcorn butter tasting smoked cheddar. Yeah, that would be interesting. Um, Hopefully the weather's good this week. It's been raining and it's like, I think it's about 3 degrees at the moment. Celsius, that is. I know it's not very cold for some people that live in colder climates, but my goodness, for Australia, it's fucking freezing, Mr. Bigglesworth. But yeah, so I'll get around to smoking I've got some jalapeno cheddar I want to give a try, and I think I've got another cheese, double Gloucester, I think I've got in there. It's been in there for quite a while. And I'm going to be smoking that too, hopefully tomorrow. We've got a little bit of work Kim and I are doing today for the business. We've got to do some restocking and stuff like that. But other than that, it's all cool. Elizabeth says, hello, Gavin and Kim. Looking forward to another interesting chat. Me too, Elizabeth. And Craig, good morning. Now, Craig's actually, I don't know if anybody knows, Craig is I would say an expert food gardener, and knows how to graft a fruit tree better than anybody I know. And he's actually one of the founding members of the Werribee Heritage Orchard, I think it is, at the uh, where is it? The Werribee Mansion here in Victoria. Amazing orchard, grown from only a few trees to a whole orchard. Just amazing. And Craig's going to be doing a live chat soon about edible gardening. So yeah, you can check out his channel. I think he's going to schedule it for a couple of weeks' time. So that'll be good. Chocolate RX says, my 11-year-old is sitting next to me and wants to know if you can make cheese out of coconut milk. Good question. Probably not. Coconut milk doesn't work the same as normal milk. It doesn't have the same proteins and the same casein structure, unfortunately. So you can't just grab a can of coconut milk and add rennet to it. It just won't set. What you can do is there are, let me think, there is vegan substitutes. So I've been mucking around a little bit with vegan cheese, and I successfully made the vegan cream cheese, but I tried to make halloumi and it just didn't work. And the thing that actually I tried to set it using agar, which was in the recipe. Now I had some agar, and it was in the vegan cheese kit that I've got. But I didn't stir it and heat it long enough, so it didn't actually set. So I put it in the mold in the fridge, and it was still still runny-ish, so it didn't set into the halloumi I was kind of expecting. So agar is one thing. There's another thing called meat glue, which is transglutamine. I think that's how you pronounce it. You can get it from vegan sources as well. You can get it from plants. And that actually sets the milk, like similar to what rennet does for cow's milk and goat's milk and sheep's milk. So technically you can make something that resembles cheese out of coconut milk. So hopefully that answers your 11-year-old's question, Chocolate RX. Kevin says, we'll be trying American cheese tomorrow. Have already made the sodium citrate. We'll let you know the result. Yeah, that'll be fantastic, Kevin. That'll be great to know. And tonight, my time, I'll be putting up my spicy, melty American cheese, the one I made with the triple pepper jack, which is very hot. Okay. The next question is, Kim says it's freezing cold here this morning. Yes, it is. So much so that the water, I replace the chicken's water every day. Got a couple of chooks, as we call them here in Australia. They're Isa brown chickens, lay great eggs. So I got two of them, and changing the water this morning, and the surface of the water was frozen. So Very unusual for our climate here. Um, Craig says, nice weather for ducks, and I think they have packed it in today. Actually, we've got two ducks that live in the pool, Craig, and they're just wild ducks. And I scared them off this morning when I was getting the water for the chickens. But they were in the pool. They did like the weather. You say, you got a question here. Do you use a pH meter? And if so, how often? Technically, I don't. The only time I use any sort of pH testing equipment, and it's not really equipment, it's just test strips. And that's when I make a pasta filata cheese. Because they're very pedantic, and you really do need to get the pH down somehow, down to between 5.2 and 5, better towards 5. So you need to make it acidic enough, the curd acidic enough that as soon as you introduce it to hot water over about 75 degrees Celsius, then it's able to stretch. Now, that's the only time I use a pH meter. But I did use some test strips again when I made the stabilized paste, the fake camembert. I had to make sure that the milk was at a specific pH before I added the rennet, or it wouldn't have done its job quick enough. So that's the only other time. It's only when you see it occasionally in a few recipes that I actually use it. So I don't use a meter. Test strips. I got 100 packs of test strips that like the swimming pool testing water. You test it, just take a little bit of milk out in a cup and put your test strip in. pH meters are very expensive. You can buy those really crappy aquarium ones, and they're no good. They don't really work. You need to get a dairy industry specific pH meters, and they're upwards of $400, if not more. I've seen them for $1,000, but they're for like full blown commercial dairies or cheese makers. So, what can you do? So I choose the cheap option that works. Oscar says hello. G'day, Oscar. Wildcat Matt says, what is your favourite style of cheese to make? If I had favourites, I think the cheddar styles. I do like those, and I think I like making the hard Italian cheeses. Not only are they easy, or fairly easy to make, they don't require a lot of maintenance during affinage. And affinage, for those who are in the know, is just a French word for aging a cheese. So it's the maintenance you do when you age the cheese. So affinage, yeah, they're easy. You can either vacuum pack or wax them and just turn them once a week, and that's all you have to do. All the other cheeses, the bloomy rinds, the wash rinds, the blue cheeses, they all require a higher level of maintenance. And if you don't have the time to do that maintenance, then your cheeses are going to come off second best, especially with, say, the washed rind and the bloomy rind cheeses. So, yeah, the favourites are the low maintenance ones. Deep South Texas, Larry, g'day. How are you, mate? Lovely to see you on here. Vern says it's 86 Fahrenheit here in California, which is goodness knows in Celsius. Convert 86 Fahrenheit to Celsius.
It's 30 degrees Celsius.
30 degrees Celsius, says Siri, and that's quite warm, which is very nice to know. I'd rather be there than here. Goodness me. Aslam says thanks. I think that was for the cow rennet. Andrew says hi from rainy Melbourne. Indeed, that's where we are. Well, we're a bit outside of Melbourne. I enjoyed your stabilised paste camembert. Can't wait to try it. Chuckled at your cheese wrapping skills. I never professed to be a good wrapper of cheeses. I'm not even a good wrapper. Don't like the stuff, but yeah, it is what it is, and it worked. And they're doing nicely. They're starting to get a little bit soft in the centre, so I'm going to try one this weekend, tomorrow, and video that and see what it tastes like. And if they're okay, then they'll be good to eat for the next 3, maybe 4 weeks, being stabilised. They won't go runny. They'll just be soft in the centre. So I'll try one out this weekend. Kevin says, what's the difference between buttermilk and cultured buttermilk? Good question, Kevin. So buttermilk is traditionally the liquid that comes out of butter when you're making it. So it's just a clear, yellowy sort of liquid. There are no cultures in it per se. It's just the liquid left over. A little bit of fat. It's very similar to whey, basically. Cultured buttermilk is when they add a mesophilic or an aromatic mesophilic starter culture to milk, and it slightly thickens. And that's the sort of buttermilk that you'll find in the stores, in cartons or bottles or what have you. And you add it to things like pancakes to make buttermilk pancakes, which gives a better flavour. It's slightly sour because of the acidification caused by the mesophilic or aromatic mesophilic starter cultures. So that's the two differences between buttermilk and cultured buttermilk. Um, Cultured buttermilk really shouldn't be called that. It should be just called soured milk or something like that. Yeah, so that's the difference between the two. Thanks for the question. John says, send the rain over here on the Hawaiian Express. Yeah, we've been getting a lot of rain. Now, somebody had a question. Where is it? Chinese symbol. Not quite sure what the translation for that is. Let's just copy that and check out the Google Translate. If I can find it. Where are we? Kim said don't get distracted, but sometimes you just have to. Love. It means love. There you go. That's nice. Love says, what is the difference between goat and cow's milk? What is the difference between goat and cow's milk cheeses? Well, one uses goat, one uses cow. That's a pretty obvious question. So a goat's milk has a higher fat content than cow's milk. It is the fat globules in goat's milk are a lot smaller. Cow's milk has larger fat globules, and we'll see that in cow's milk the cream floats to the top. In goat's milk it doesn't. Some people call it a natural homogenization. It's not. Homogenization is a process, man-made process, whereas goat's milk naturally has smaller fat globules and the cream doesn't float to the top. Goat's milk also has a higher instance of lipase within it, which helps break down the fats during the maturation or affinage of your cheese, and it gives piquant flavors to the final cheese. So you'll find goat's milk cheeses have either a spicy, long aged ones have a spicier flavor than what cow's milk do, and they also have a more of a tang. So if you make a cream cheese with cow's milk and goat's milk, you'll find that the goat's milk has a sharper flavour than what the cow's milk cream cheese does. And goat's milk cream cheese is called chèvre, which is French for goat. There you go. All right, so hopefully that sorts out, helps you out, love, and nice question. Kevin says, when wrapping your camembert, try putting the opening on the bottom and the weight of the cheese will keep it closed. Yeah, definitely. That's what I've done in the ripening box that I've got in the normal kitchen fridge at 4 degrees. They're opening down, even though I've got a piece of sticky tape over it and all sticky taping. Jake says, hello, Gavin. How are you? I'm doing well. Thank you, Jake. Craig says, thanks for the mention, Gav. Much appreciated. No problems at all, mate. When you do schedule your live stream, I will be watching because I've got some fruit tree questions that I want to hitch up with. And I know everybody's time is precious, so the best time to do that is during a Q&A instead of shooting a random email, which I get so many of. I'm getting at least 10 cheese email questions a day, and I just don't have I don't have the time to do it. That's why I started the Ask the Cheeseman. Okay, John says coconut milk has fats, but not the same lactose milk fat globules, and even finer than goat's milk. Indeed. Um, Good clarification. Matt says, what is your all-time favourite cheese that you've made in terms of taste and overall enjoyment in the cheese making process? Um, a lot of people have probably heard it before, but one of my favourite cheeses that I made was a couple, really. So Tilsit, which was my first washed rind cheese, so the one with the orange or red smear all over it. I just enjoyed the process immensely. I'd never made one before. I didn't really know what the taste is going to be like, and it just turned out to be amazing. And the flavour was just mind blowing. So that was really good. The overall enjoyment of that cheese was just fantastic. The recently the stabilised paste one, because it was something different. I really enjoyed the process of that and trying to make sure it was just right for you guys and girls to enjoy. And the very first cheddar that I made, the one I filmed for the channel, was the very first cheddar I made. I was hesitant. I hadn't made cheddar. I'd made farmhouse cheddar, which is a stirred curd cheddar, not the same. But I was hesitant at doing the cheddaring process because all looked a little bit too intimidating. And then I just said, Gav, what's the worst can happen? It won't work. You still have a cheese. So I thought, well, what the heck? And I made it. And that's one of the reasons it was my own uh, fear of failure, I suppose, that I filmed the 1 month, 2 month, 3 months, 6 months um, of that cheese to make sure that it was still all on track. And I even did a 12-month refresh on some of the cheese that have been aged for 12 months, which was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. So thanks for your question, Matt. Lisa says, I'm in Texas and it's 101 right now, which is, what's that, 39 degrees Celsius. That's pretty hot. It's fun to see you all bundled up. Yes, it's cold. Aslam says, mesophilic acid is a lactic acid. Can I use it to make cheddar? No, mesophilic acid. It's not a mesophilic acid. It's mesophilic starter culture, Aslam. It's a lactic bacteria. It's two lactic. Well, depends on the mesophilic you choose or you can get your hands on. So the mesophilic starter cultures, which then turn the lactose in the milk into lactic acid. So don't add lactic acid to your cheese. But mesophilic starter culture, yes, you can use that to make cheddar cheese, if that answers your question. Alpha Omega says, g'day from central Victoria. It's 2 degrees this morning. Yeah, it was 3 degrees here. Very chilly. That's Celsius, that is. Chocolate RX says, some of your cheeses require you to bring up the temperature very slowly over the time. Is the pot heated is the pot over a very low heat and you turn the heat up slowly, or is it over the pot of water with the heat on? Yes, so it depends on the temperature range. Over that time, usually the heat is just on. So I've got it on the smallest burner on my gas stove. I do have the pot underneath the big cheese pot, the milk pot, and that has water in it and creates steam. So because steam can only get up to 100 degrees Celsius, you're not going to get a runaway heating effect. So you can control the temperature of the milk quite well. So initially, yep, I slowly heat it up. If it starts to rise up too quickly, and really it's through experience that you can tell whether it's heating up too quickly. Usually every 5 minutes, it's about 1 degree Celsius is usually the how fast it goes. If you heat it too quickly, the cheese tends to be dry and flaky. If you go from 32 straight up to 50 degrees or whatever the recipe says, right? So yes, another way you can do it is if you get if you've got your pot in a water bath, maybe a sink, and you put a sous vide. I think one of the brands is Anova, and it's used for meat cooking in plastic bags, but you can use it to heat the water, which heats up the milk in your pot. A lot of people on cheese forums now are using sous vide as the temperature control. So much easier. because you can actually set it to go from one temperature to another temperature over a period of time, or press the button every 5 minutes to take it up a degree Celsius. A lot easier to control the heating of the milk. So you could try that, Chocolate RX. All Known Guitar says, I make kefir daily. Have you ever used kefir as the culture for a hard cheese? I have not, but there is a book that talks all about how to make cheese with kefir grains, not the powder culture, but kefir grains. And that is the Art of Natural Cheese Making by, what's his name? David Asher is the guy. I think he wears a hat like this too, on the front of his book. But yeah, and that goes through all the steps you need to do to make kefir-based cheese. And the kefir has quite a few different cultures within it. It has a mesophilic starter culture, has a thermophilic starter culture. It also has strains of Geotrichum candidum, so it has white mold as well. Okay, Kevin says, made your curd heart from the plans you posted. Can I use the same plans to make a vertical harp, just putting the strings perpendicular? Yeah, I believe you can, and I don't think there'd be any issues with that. Just make sure that when you tighten, so you'll have to string it up once you built the frame. The bottom rung, whatever, the bottom bar at the bottom, will have to be fairly strong if you're going to tighten those up. That's the only thing I can think of that would be different. So I can't see why that wouldn't work, Kevin. Matt says, are you a fan of adding a natto to cheese like cheddar and Colby to make them look better, or do you prefer to do it without it? Matt, I actually prefer putting the annatto in, because when I give it away to friends and family, if I said it was a cheddar and it was fairly white, they wouldn't believe me. By just simply putting in the little dash of annatto it needs for a cheddar, a normal traditional cheddar, to make it slightly yellow, then you get more pleasure of, because not only do your taste buds work in conjunction with sense of smell, it's also very visual as well. So you'll get more enjoyment out of it, because that's what they're used to from commercial cheeses. So yeah, I add it. It's no big deal. Doesn't change the flavour, just changes the colour. Okay, as a goth ill, I think that's how you say. Hey, just wanted to say that I really like your channel and wish you all the best with it. Thanks very much, mate. Chozo says, greetings, oh cheesy one. Greeting, Chozo. Ronnie, hi Gavin, my cheese fridge got unplugged, and then I realised it was 70 Fahrenheit. Do you think my cheese will be okay? Right, what's 70 Fahrenheit? Convert 70 Fahrenheit to Celsius.
The answer is 21.1 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, 21. Depends, 21 degrees Celsius, that is, folks. It depends on how long it was unplugged for, Ronnie. If it was less than a day, I think they'd probably be okay. I've had cheese sitting out on the side for at 30 degrees Celsius for a few days to air dry it, so that seems to work okay. And didn't change the cheese. So if it's 24 hours or less, then no big deal. However, if it is a little bit longer, then I'd still mature it and just see what happens. It won't go off. It'll just have a faster development of acid within it. So it may taste a bit acidic, and you may have to ripen it a bit longer. Okay, Sir Funk says, what cheeses can I make that will be a big difference in quality from a good store-bought cheese? My girlfriend is dubious about my desires to make and age my own cheese. Sir Funk, I would try any cheese would be superior in flavour to some of the store-bought rubbish that I've bought personally. Goodness me. Try, it depends on your taste, right? If you want a mild cheese, probably a good idea to try a Colby. Colby is an excellent cheese. The stuff that I make, the Colby that I make, is far superior than some of the Colbys that I bought. So An amazing cheese. Um, Make a stir curd cheddar. Um, have a look at the stir curd cheddar recipe that I used for the one with Wensleydale. Uh, no, not Wensleydale. What was it? It was a blue farmhouse cheddar. So don't put the blue mold in, the Penicillium Roque 40. Just follow that recipe and age it, and the cheese will turn out amazing. And you'll go, you know, you can't get better than this in the shops. So any cheese, I would think. Dwayne says, hello, Gavin. Hello, Dwayne. Long time no see, mate. It must be the Saturday show that you managed to get to. Very good. As a Gothil says, perhaps you could try making, I think this is a Polish cheese, Korsinski. I think that's how you say it. It's a simple cheese, which are basically called skiz, but with soured milk. It's very interesting. I'll have a look. Always do like nice new cheeses. So I'll check that one out. Okay. John says, previous question, cheese maturation box. Google the words, click the images. Most are Australian, but some other designs are available elsewhere. Click the links to those providers. Yeah, that's a good way to find one. Basically, if you can find any sort of plastic box with a mat, and what what I used to do before I discovered that model of ripening box, John, was I just got a plastic Tupperware box and put two bamboo mats in it. So two bamboo sushi mats, and then I made them perpendicular to each other, so it had a little bit of height. As long as your cheese is able to freely drain, and as long as your cheese doesn't sit in the way, that's the task. That's what you're tasked with, to make sure your cheese, when it's ripening, doesn't sit in the way. So any plastic box with a lid that you can keep the humidity in is perfect. So you won't have any issues. Chocolate RS says, thank you. Another use for my sous vide machine. Perfect. Yeah, definitely. Use whatever you've got. When I started off making cheese, I didn't rush out and buy a whole bunch of expensive equipment. We already had a stock pot that was rather large. We had the stainless steel spoons and the measuring spoons and the measuring cups, all that stuff we already had. I think I had to buy a larger balloon whisk to whisk in cream into the milk if I needed to. Obviously a curd knife, because I didn't have a really long knife to use. But I think when I started, I was only making like 4 to 8 litre, which is 1 gallon to 2 gallon sized cheeses using that sort of milk. So the pot was smaller, and I did have a knife that reached the bottom. Now I'm using a 15 litre, or what's that, 3.5 gallon pot. Then I needed a longer knife, so I've got longer knives, and I sell those as well. So look, all the equipment that you need is around a well-stocked kitchen. So you get a well-stocked kitchen, you've got all the gear to make cheese, basically. Just make sure that you sanitize it. Dwayne says, what's your thoughts on adding herbs to cheese? My thoughts are, do it. Not only does it give you a little bit of variety when you're making cheese, because you can make the same cheese over and over. In fact, a good go-to cheese is the farmhouse cheddar, the stirred curd cheddar. Right, you can add a gamut of things to that. Like I've added jalapenos to it. Turned out fantastic. Green, fresh jalapenos that I chopped up. That turned out amazing. The farmhouse blue cheddar was based on a stirred curd cheddar, so that was pretty cool. But you can add in and look at the Cotswold, where I added in chives and dried onions to it. Typically, that's a double Gloucester style cheese. However, you can use stir curd cheddar to add those in. Other things I've added in, obviously, chili features quite heavily, because I do like chili, even though it's really hot and makes me break out a sweat. But I do like adding chili. But look, any sort of herbs, basil, I've added thyme, which gives it quite a unique flavour, and also sage, fresh from the garden. If you have a look at if Kim, you can find the original, the Wensleydale recipe video, if you're listening. I haven't seen you there very much, but if you find the Wensleydale video, I put a layer of sage in the middle, and my goodness, that really did enhance the flavour of the cheese. Very good. Sage, dried sage is quite amazing stuff. Very underrated in the cheese making world. Oh, also I made a sage derby as well, which was it wasn't very green, but had the sage flavour through it. That was very nice as well. So I do rate it, Dwayne. I like adding herbs to cheese. Monique, g'day, Monique. Lovely to see you on board today. G'day, Gav. I cut my tall camemberts like last Saturday, like you said, and they are progressing. They now have a little bit of white mold developing finally. Thanks for your tip. That's a great idea. I stumbled across it serendipitously, Monique, because when I thought mine were a little bit too tall, I thought, well, what's the worst that can happen? They're a stabilised paste cheese, and the paste was really firm. It wasn't like normal camembert where they're fairly runny, fairly moist. Excuse me, need a sip. Yeah, it wasn't like a normal camembert that's fairly loose. Um, and look, cut him in half. I knew the mold would grow because I put the mold in the milk. It didn't matter where, it would just grow. It's quite good. But yeah, it was stroke of genius. I didn't want to have tall camemberts. I wanted short, stumpy ones like you buy in the shops. That's what I was trying to replicate. So, but thank you. Thanks, Monique. Siraj says, hello, Mr. Gavin. Hello, Siraj. Chozo said, chives are a good addition to milder cheese. Yes, indeed they are. Chives are good. Siraj says, I'm Iranian, low you. Well, hi to you. I think Google Translate's not working very well for you. Thanks, Kim, for the Wensleydale recipe there. That's can't remember who that's for, but that's for somebody. Oh, that's for Dwayne for the herbs. Very cool. Matt says, I've seen you use a whisk before in some of your videos to cut the curds along with a knife. Do you think this works okay since I don't have a curd harp? Matt, yeah, so look, I only use the whisk when I want the curd cube sizes really small. So you'll see that when I make high temperature cheeses, so like Alpine style or hard Italian cheeses like Pecorino or Romano or Parmesan or any of the Alpine styles like Jarlsberg or oh, that'll do. I won't mention too many more. Yeah, you need the curd size less than 1.25 centimeters. So the only way that I can do that successfully is I'll do an initial cut of the 1.25 centimeters using my curd harp. Or I'll use the knife and do the verticals to start with. So they get vertical columns of curd. And then I'll stab it all with very gently, of course, stab it with the whisk, the balloon whisk. And I find that cuts it. If I go around 2 or 3 times on the curd with the balloon whisk, then that cuts it very well. So I don't have any issues, and it's about the right size. It needs to be about the size of a pea to start off with. And during the cooking process for those hard cheeses, you'll see the temperature can go up to at least 52 Celsius for, say, Parmesan. The curd size will shrink down to about the size of a rice grain, plump rice grain. Very, very small curd size. So yeah, the whisk works really well. So yeah. Craig says, have you seen the new milk called Cow? Do you know anything about it? Craig, I think you're referring to the there are now cold pressed milk. It's a form of pasteurisation. They exert pressure onto the milk in the bottle that they put it in. So they put raw milk in a bottle. They pressurise it somehow. They don't steam pressurise it or anything like that. It's just some sort of pressure process. And basically that kills the bad bacteria within the milk. So essentially you kind of got raw milk. So all the protein structure's still there. All of the fats are still there. They haven't been homogenized or anything like that. And as far as I know, the cream floats to the top. But yeah, it cold pressed milk is a new thing here in Australia, and I think Monique, who's in the chat, has used it, and I think it turned out quite well. Monique, if you want to chime in um, and let us know how it went with your the cold pressed milk that you used. Um, so hopefully that answers your question, Craig. Chocolate RX says, have you tried queso uh, majero? I think that's how you say it, which is a goat's milk cheese from Spain, the Canary Islands. If so, can you compare it to something more common? No, I haven't tried it. I haven't even seen a recipe for it, but I'll do some research, see what I can come up with. Majare. Right. I'll have a look. Craig says supposedly raw milk. All right. Yep. So I did that. Karen, love to see you, Karen. Cheese making tools. I would recommend a large spoon with a comfortable handle for stirring. My spoon has a flat handle, not very comfortable for stirring for long times. Yeah, my spoon's a bit. It's stainless steel. I did have one of those stainless steel round ones, but I found it was hollow because when I dipped it into the milk went up the handle, so that was pretty ordinary. That didn't work very well. So I resorted to the flat handle stainless steel spoon. Sure, it's a bit ordinary on the hand, but at least it doesn't get any bacteria in it. It's easier to sanitize. Chozo says, I wish we could get raw milk over here in the States. Well, I wish we could get raw milk too, but we have regulations against it. This cold pressed um, process that I've been talking about really does kill the bad bacteria. So maybe it'll go over to the States eventually. Oh, we got a curd nerd lamp going off there. So, oops, it won't go off. There we go. That's from Matt. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for all your great answers. No problems at all, mate. That's what I'm here to do, to help newbie cheesemakers. And there's your gold star, Matt. There you go. Lovely. To help newbie curd nerds get into cheesemaking, because I know it's an entertaining hobby. I really do love it. Okay. Mabrook, I think that's how you say it. Is the lipase important in the mozzarella? Well, look, normally when they make mozzarella in Italy, well, for real, using buffalo milk, it has a high concentration of lipase already in it. So yeah, it does help flavour the cheese, and buffalo milk is very, very high in fat content, so totally different than cow's milk. So yeah, it is important. So when I add it to cow's milk, it's to compensate for the fact that cow's milk has a lot less lipase than say buffalo milk and goat and sheep for that matter as well. So yeah, so it is important. I add it to mozzarella. I add it to most Italian cheeses, or hard Italian cheeses too, because I'm not using raw milk. I'm using pasteurized milk, and a lot of the lipase is destroyed during the pasteurization process, as is some of the soluble calcium, which is why we have to add back calcium chloride as well. Okay, Luciano says, hi, Mr. Gavin. I learned so much from your videos right now. Right now, I do a blue cheese with your recipe. Greeting from Rio Cuarto, I think, in Cordoba in Argentina. Well, greetings, Luciano. Thank you very much for watching. Karen says she lives in Washington State, and raw milk is readily available in Washington State and Idaho. Very cool. Monique says, made by a cow, Jersey milk is the one I was talking about. Haven't made cheese with it yet, but I got a lot of people saying it's the same as regular pasteurized milk. I would like to give it a go, but it's $4 a litre. Gee, that's pretty expensive. Mind you, when I buy when I get the milk from Inglenook Dairies, it's not cheap either. A good unhomogenized milk will be expensive because, well, it's weird, because they don't homogenize it, which is another process they would have to pay for normally. So they actually charge more than what they do the homogenized milk. Go figure. But that's about between $2. Oh no, it's $3.50 for 2 liters. So yeah, a little bit less expensive. But it would be okay. But yeah, like I said, expensive. If you're going to make 8 liters of milk, um, that's $32 for 8 liters. It's very expensive. Chozo says, talking about interesting, can't get it anywhere I live. Suppose we could get some if we paid the Amish around here, which I actually hadn't thought about. Yeah, you could. If Amish milk cows, go get some milk from them. Hickory smoked tuna, the professor. Great name. Cheese for life, indeed. Cheese is cool. Chozo says, till now, I live in Pennsylvania. Well, lots of Amish in Pennsylvania from what I've seen on television. Wouldn't know anything else. Okay, it's 1:15, and we've got 15 minutes left, I think, about that. If you've got any more questions, then keep going. If not, we can call it early if you would like. But I do have a bit of room for a few more questions. Okay. Monique says, I will try to do a cheese next week. Which cheese do you reckon I should do? Monique, I'd do a cheese with a 4 litre recipe. If it costs $4 a litre, then try something small. And you could make a pretty good blue cheese with 4 litres. I've done that before. So you could give that a go. Definitely any bloomy rind cheeses, or 4 litre recipes. What other 4 litre recipe? You could do a small cheddar. You can cut the recipe down. And even any of the fresh cheeses that use 4 litres of milk. Yeah, I've got a few there. Chocolate RX says, thanks so much. I've been binging your videos this past week. I have a corn allergy and can no longer have cheese made here in the States because dairy cattle are fed corn silage. Goodness me, that's no good. I didn't realise that the allergen, whatever it is, would pass through. I think there's a lot of grass fed. I think in summer you'd probably be okay, but hard to bit difficult to determine. If you lived in one of the dairy states, I'm sure they would be grass fed. But if you can get grass fed milk, oh yeah, it can. You've got it written there. I can get grass fed milk, but no grass fed cheese. Okay, so you'll be able to make it yourself, as we discussed at the start. David says, good morning, Gavin. Made some kefili yesterday and it had it pressing overnight. Do you mature it in a maturation box? I did, but don't with the little pop top thing that I have on my one. I don't know if I've got the picture still. No, I haven't. Oh, yes, I do. So on this one here, the one I have with the little pop top lid, I can just have that up and it doesn't get as humid. And what I found, David, was that it became quite mouldy fairly quickly because it's got a high salt content. Black and brown molds really like the cheese. So you do have to wash it off with a brine solution if you've got it in the maturation box. If you don't have it in a maturation box, what happens is it dries out too quickly and it starts to crack and you'll get cracks in the surface. So, yes, I prefer to put it in a maturation box myself, and you avoid the cracking, but you do get a little bit of mold growth. Now, mold growth's fine as long as you keep it wiped off with a simple brine solution. A simple brine solution is just a cup of water, boiled, cooled water, with 1 to 2 teaspoons of salt in it, and dissolve that in, and then with a soft cloth, I just use Chuck's cloths, buy them in a big roll, just rip it off, dip it in, and wipe all over the cheese, and that gets rid of the mold. And you only have to do it for 3 weeks. Caerphilly's a very quick aging cheese. The extra salting and the washing during maturation helps form a fairly thick rind. And you'll find under that rind, when you cut it open, you've got a really creamy paste, and it tastes delicious. Fairly salty, but not as salty as, say, a Greek feta or something like that. Okay. Chozo says, yeah, there's a large Amish Mennonite population around here, so you'll get a lot of good milk. Karen says, if using raw milk for hard Italian cheeses, would you leave out the lipase? Yes, I would. If you're using raw milk. And the good thing is, when you're making raw milk cheeses and you are making those hard Italian ones, anything over 48 degrees Celsius, there's a regulation here by Food Standards Australia that you can use raw milk to make cheese if you cook the curd over 48 degrees Celsius and you mature it for at least, I think it's 6 months at 10 degrees Celsius, and that kills all the pathogens off. That you may get if you use raw milk. Anyway, Monique says, I'll try your Petite Blue with the made by cow milk. Oh, that'd be really nice. You'll get some really runny cheese out of that. Marianne, g'day Marianne, long time no see. What exactly in the cheese process gives you a cheese that melts? It's the acidity of the curds is one thing. So if it's a very low acidity cheese, like a lot of the fresh cheeses you'll get, they don't melt very well. So the acidity is usually, it's a pH of about 4.5 in a fully matured cheese, and that certainly is high enough acidity to melt the cheese. So that's usually what determines the meltability of the cheese. Okay, David says, and you recommend keeping it 3 weeks before eating. Since I halved the recipe, should I mature it half the time? No, I'd still mature it for the 3 weeks, David. You need the flavours to develop. Okay, we've got another super chat. That's fantastic. Let's see if I can turn that off. Right, and that's from Sylvia. G'day, Sylvia. Thank you so much for your $10 super chat. There's your gold star. Well done. And you've got no question. So, but thank you very much for your kind $10 donation. But you have said something. Thank you, Gavin, for starting me on a new adventure. You're most welcome, Sylvia. Where am I up to? All I know guitar says your Fontina recipe was very delicious. I'll be cutting into the manchego very soon. Can't wait. Yeah, so there were some great little recipes. I did enjoy the Fontina. That was delicious. The manchego. Now, I did say a queso tipo manchego, which means cheese like manchego. It's, now that I've tasted real manchego sheep. Sheep's milk manchego doesn't really taste too much like manchego, except a very strong-ish, especially when you make it with cow's milk. If you made it with sheep's milk, it'd be perfect. The recipe stands by itself. Use the same recipe, all be good. The cow's milk variation tastes a little bit like manchego, not completely as you would if you're using sheep's milk, but it will taste great nonetheless. All I know guitar. All right, Karen says, I would check at the markets. There may be local restrictions. Absolutely check at Amish farm stands. I pay about $6 to $9 per gallon. What's that, about $1.50 a litre? Maybe more. It's about $2 a litre Australian. That's fairly reasonable, especially for raw milk. That should be pretty good. Make sure you get it fresh the day it's milked, because you'll get all sorts of bacterial development in the milk if it's not kept cold as well. Hickory Smoked Tuna says, this is probably a basic question, but does the flavour of the cheese come from the specific culture used, or are there many factors to the taste? This is a fairly long answer, but yes, it does. The type of starter culture does determine a final flavour, because Different cultures do different things. Some make buttery flavors. Some make the cheese drier, less air within the paste. Some make a tight paste. Some make a loose paste. Yeah, it does. It also determines, and thanks for the super chat, Matt. I'll get to that one in a second. It also determines the taste of the cheese determines how you age it, how much moisture is in the final cheese, how much salt you add to the cheese. There are many, many factors, but one of the factors is indeed the starter culture that you use. And I found that my farmhouse cheddars, very blurry. There we go, that's better. My farmhouse cheddars taste a lot better when I use um, MA 4001 by Danisco. It's a choose it culture, rather than using my Sacco MO30. So I prefer now, when I make the farmhouse cheddar, to use the MA 4001 or 4002. Tastes a lot better. I think the flavour is more like cheddar. Okay, Vern says, do you have to adjust the pressure of the cheese press after putting it in the press? Yes, because it's a spring press. It will expand again as the cheese goes down, so I do have to tighten it occasionally. To Matt's super chat, Matt says, I'll be making farmhouse cheddar on Sunday. Hopefully it turns out good. Fingers crossed, mate. Hopefully it should be good. And thank you for your $4.99 super chat. Appreciate it, mate. Okay, getting close to the end. We've got 4 minutes to go. Last few questions. David said, I thought I'd let you know that if you didn't already, that's Amore Cheese Company in Thomastown sell buffalo milk. So a buffalo cheese recipe could be on the cards. Yeah, I kind of knew that one, David, but I hadn't got around to it because you've got to buy it in, I think it's 10 or 20 litre buckets, and you've got to return the bucket or something. There's some deposit you've got to put down on it. Not too technical. I could probably go get some. But yeah, I know they sell buffalo milk, and that's what they make their mozzarella with. And their mozzarella is very tasty as well. You can get it fresh from the store, from the stuff that they made. They got a store bolted onto the cheese factory, so very cool. Jake says, greeting from a Virginia beach. I don't know where that is, but love your channel. Thank you very much, Jake. Mark says, hello from the Front Range of Colorado. I have a good source of raw cow's milk being making mozzarella. What are some other raw milk cheeses I should try? All of them. Better if they're the harder cheeses, but you can make, traditionally there was no pasteurization until Louis Pasteur invented it in 1840 something. But yeah, you can make any cheese with raw milk cheese, but the safer ones to make are the harder, higher temperature cooked cheeses. Thank you very much, Paul, for your kind super chat, mate. At the final hour there, Yo Gav, thanks, mate, appreciate it. And there's your gold star. Oh, I just missed it. Thank you so much. Kimmy's given me the wind up, but Rex says, new to your chats, but using your videos for a pretty successful camembert made petite blue on the go now. How do you keep your cheese cave clean? White vinegar is what I use to wipe out the inside if I need to. But because I keep all the cheeses in ripening boxes, the cheese cave or cheese fridge doesn't tend to go mouldy. So that's one of the added bonuses. Welcome home 76. What's the best fodder to keep sheep and goats for best flavoured milk? Looking to make feta. Grass is the best, or meadow. Anything with pasture, with lots of flowers and different varieties of grasses are the best. Silage is not. Makes a really crappy milk, really crappy cheese. Okay, Kimmy's giving me the wind up. Don't forget you can visit littlegreenworkshops.com.au, our lovely store where we have all of our gear. Where is it? There it is. That's not it. That's it. Littlegreenworkshops.com.au, and you can pick up all your cheese making supplies, which we ship all over the world. And there are the cheese making supplies. Lovely. All the goodies. Yeah. So you can do that. And don't forget to visit, if you want to support the show, of course. Don't feel obliged, but a lot of people do, which is great. YouTube memberships, which is the join button below, somewhere down there under the video. And you can join for, I think it's $4 $4.99 US a month, and you get early access to the videos. You get your name up in lights in the chat box, and you get a cool little icon saying how long you've been a member, which is very cool. And also you can visit Patreon. There's the link there, and there are different tiers and different rewards for the different tiers as well. Also, you can buy merch over at the merch store, or you can go to our, cheese making store, and there's a link to the merch store there. And have a great weekend, everybody. We're going to, hopefully I'll get around to smoking some cheese this weekend. That will be great fun. And we will see you next Wednesday at same time, same channel, to answer all of your home cheese making questions. Well, thanks for watching, Curd Nerds, and I'll see you next Wednesday.